This is Eric Anderton, and you're listening to Construction Genius, a leadership masterclass. Thomas Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If you're a construction leader, you know all about the perspiration, and this show is all about the 1% inspiration that you can add to your hard work to help you to improve your leadership. Welcome back to Construction Genius. This is part 2 of my discussion with Dylan Davis on AI for construction companies. In the first episode, Dylan and I laid the foundation. We talked about what AI is, what large language models are, where tools like ChatGPT are useful and where they can get risky, and how contractors can start using them without getting overwhelmed. Today, we're going one step deeper, because here's the challenge. A contractor can understand the basics of ChatGPT, but still not use them well. You can open it up, type a few prompts in, get a decent email, maybe clean up a note or two, and that's useful, but it's still kind of random. The next step is learning how to turn ChatGPT into a repeatable workflow, whether it's for a simple task or even a more complex task. And that's what we're talking about here today. How do you take one common construction task, in this case, we're going to dive into a meeting transcript, and build a simple AI process around it? What information does ChatGPT need? What should the output look like? How do you improve that output? When do you save the workflow so that you can use it again? And where does a human still need to review, think, and make the final call? That's ChatGPT 201. Not theory. We're not going to be talking about hype. We're not going to be speculating here. We're just going to be talking about how to start turning AI into real work that saves time every week. Dylan, welcome back.
Thank you for having me again, Eric.
I tell you, this is awesome. So what makes something an AI workflow instead of just a one-off prompt?
The best way to think about that is any task that you do on a recurring basis. So a lot of us do recurring tasks, and those tasks sometimes take a lot of time, sometimes they don't. And the best way to think about those is making a list, as many of those as you can. And then those are the to-do lists, basically, that you want to start attacking with AI, embedding into recurring workflows.
Okay. All right. So again, very simple here. You've got tasks that take time. And now think about it from your business perspective. Construction, very simply, you've got to bid work, you've got to build work, and then you've got to bill the work. So you've got to land work, you've got to build it, and then get paid. Within that build, there's the planning of the work as well as the execution of the work. And within each one of those 3 main categories, the bid, the build, and the bill, you have reoccurring tasks that take a lot of time. And those are the tasks that are potentially leverageable or repeatable, and therefore you could use AI to help you with those tasks. How was that for a good summary there, Dylan?
Well done. Very good.
So our first takeaway for anyone listening here today is you can start this right now, or you can do it after you've listened to the podcast, but start making that list. And what I want you to do is I want you to challenge people in your organization. So if you're the president of your construction company, you need to go to your chief estimator, you need to go to your COO, you need to go to your CFO and charge them with working with their people on getting that list of tasks. And again, what you want to do is you don't want to overwhelm yourself trying to do too much too soon and get frustrated, but you want to make a list of those tasks and then prioritize them, not necessarily in order of importance, but first in order of ease of automation. What's most likely to be automatable, and what is the task that you could most likely take to ChatGPT and get it doing it on a regular basis in such a way that it takes away that friction point from you without costing you too much time and too much risk. So that's what I want you to be thinking about. Okay, now with that in mind, let's talk about meeting summaries and meeting transcripts. If I have a transcript of a meeting I've been in, is that good fodder, so to speak, for AI to take and begin to use in a meaningful way and help me in terms of summaries and insights and things like that?
Indeed, I think transcripts are actually the fuel for future businesses. Most organizations, they have tons and tons of meetings, and very rarely do they record their meetings. But if they record their meetings, those transcripts tend to get tossed aside or never referenced again. That's the first step. At least if you're recording everything, that's a good first step. But the next thing is using those transcripts, not just to do summaries, to do follow-ups, but actually derive insights over time, to take actions on, to create strategies from. So transcripts are kind of the contextual information that's shared between your employees, between your vendors and clients, et cetera, that isn't usually documented, but has so much value to it. So I'd say transcripts are probably one of the most important data sets any company could ever get, and it's very easy to do so.
Yeah, it's so remarkable just to think about how even in the past 5 or 10 years, the ability to record a transcript. I mean, we've all got our phones. You can just put it on. You can use your phone for one thing, and then to use those transcripts in a beneficial way. It's just that one simple thing has just radically changed in the last 5 years, in the last 3 years even.
Right. Probably one of the easiest use cases you can start with that everybody has to deal with is oftentimes you have recurring meetings. So maybe you have project meetings or update meetings or whatever else. And after those meetings, if you're the organizer or the host, you tend to have to send follow-ups afterwards. So you'll have to tell everybody what's been discussed, what's coming up next, where we stand, et cetera. And that takes a lot of time to both take the notes in the meeting as well as do the follow-up afterwards. There's two benefits here. So if you're recording the meeting, you have the transcript. You don't have to be actively taking notes that are referenced for the future. You can actually be present in the meeting.
Yep.
The second benefit is afterwards, you could just take that transcript, drop it into an AI that knows your tone of voice, how you like to structure your follow-ups, the things you like to emphasize. And it'll likely have more insights and understanding than you would, even if you were taking the notes, because it has access to the entire conversation. It can derive those insights. So you can take that transcript, drop it in, and it automatically drafts the email for you. So all you have to do is quickly vet it, check it, and then send it.
Yeah, and so this is key. And I just want to take another step back and just think about this idea of deriving insights. So like Dylan has said, the best construction companies are tremendously efficient at running meetings. And in those meetings, so much is going on. For instance, let's say you have a project meeting, an update meeting on a regular basis. You're the general contractor and maybe you're the project manager and the project executive are there. You've got your subs there. You've got the owner, maybe some project partners. You guys are exchanging information on safety, schedule, manpower, coordination, RFIs, submittals, change orders, quality, all kinds of stuff. You're exchanging all of this information. And so it's a tremendously rich environment. And by simply recording it and capturing the transcript from the recording, again, you can gain the insights. And think about the frustrations that many of us have as we're building projects with repeated incidences or repeated issues and trying to really nail those down. And if you have the transcripts in project meetings that follow the flow of the building of the project, you're building up that history of the project, not just from a data perspective, but from the way that people are responding to issues, the way that they're communicating in meetings. And again, this is a tremendously rich resource to help you to be more effective in the way that you run your company. Okay, so let's back up a minute and let's just imagine that we have a transcript from a project coordination, project update meeting. How should I use ChatGPT specifically to get the most out of that transcript?
So let's say that for this meeting, the task here is basically to write a follow-up email. That could be the task for our use case.
Yep.
And in this task, you probably already have previous follow-up emails you've drafted. You have a structure, you have a tone, you have different things you emphasize in those meetings. So what you want to do is you want to take maybe 3 to 5 diverse samples of things you've already written for those follow-ups. You want to give that to ChatGPT. And you want to ask ChatGPT to basically figure out your writing style and the structure of these follow-ups. So once it understands that, then you can ask the AI, now that you understand my structure and my tone of writing, I want you to convert this into a system prompt, basically a prompt for an AI, that I can use on a recurring basis, that once I feed the AI transcript, it then produces the same thing back to me based on that transcript.
Yep.
So once we've done this and we understand how our writing style looks and is structured, I then bake that into a GPT project. And a GPT project, simply put, is basically a folder that's associated to a task. So when you open that folder, it's going to do that task on a recurring basis anytime you interact with the AI inside that folder. So this folder that we're creating is going to be an email follow-up task folder.
Yep.
That's going to take a transcript and then give you back an email that you can copy and paste and send to others.
Yep.
So you're going to take that transcript, you can drop it in that project after you put the system prompt in there, and then you're going to check the output. Once you're happy with the output, likely it won't happen after the first iteration. It'll probably take maybe 3 to 5 iterations. You'll get to the point where you're happy. Once you're happy, then you can copy and paste that, send it to the attendees.
Okay, excellent. So let's just go back over. Just again, we're taking our time here because this is the stuff where if one of those people who just opens up ChatGPT, kind of randomly tries a couple of things, gets an okay answer, says, oh, that's fine, does occasional emails, but you're like, dude, this doesn't really work for me. If you do these basics very well, consistently, if you set it up correctly with the right use cases, you're going to find far more success. So just want to slow down. You began by saying that get 3 to 5 examples of follow-up emails that you would send after a project update meeting. And then you asked ChatGPT to identify the writing style and the structure of the follow-up. Did I get that correctly?
Yeah.
Is there anything else I should ask it in the initial prompt to identify?
One other thing that you could ask it to do is you could ask it to come up with 5 criteria that it feels equate to what good looks like from these samples. And what I mean what good looks like, it has to be items that are agnostic of the email. So each email that you write is dedicated to a given topic, but there is likely an essence or an abstractable element that makes those emails good to you. So if you can have the AI pull out those criteria of what makes these good and then make them binary, so yes, no, pass, fail, you can have it bake that into the prompt. So when it writes the email for you in the future, it actually grades its own work before it gives you anything.
Right.
So that would be the third thing. So it's you get my writing style, you get the structure, and also you get the criteria of what good looks like. So you can then grade the work before you give me anything back, increasing the likelihood that it actually meets my expectations.
Okay, that's interesting. So if I've identified what good looks like, and then I put a transcript in, and there's a gap between what good looks like and the content of the transcript, that might actually tell me something about the quality of the meeting that I'm running.
Right.
And so, for instance, if what good looks like from a project update meeting is that we've definitely talked about the schedule, we've had a clear conversation about manpower, we've definitely talked about coordination, RFIs, submittals, and all kinds of change orders and cost issues have been addressed. If that's what good looks like, in other words, in every project meeting, if I must talk about these things, then I include that as I'm setting up this reoccurring task for the AI. And in doing so, that will enable the AI to flag for me the quality of the meetings that I'm having. And that can help me to run more effective meetings as well.
As well as the quality of the output too. So
yes.
How good is the output compared to my previous writing styles?
Right. Okay. Excellent. Now, I want to, again, go back to something that we talked about in the first session, and that's this idea of using dictation. This is a classic example as you're setting up this project in ChatGPT to use dictation so that you're just kind of riffing. You're telling the AI, this is what I'm looking for. This is what's essential. I want you to do this. I don't want you to do that. Just really talk off the top of your head in terms of what you know, because you've got the experience, what you know a killer meeting looks like. So think about the very best project update meeting you've ever been in before, and then just talk to the AI about that as you're going through the process. And it's going to help the AI to be much more effective in creating these summaries from the transcripts. Okay, so now the second thing that I heard is that creating this into a system prompt. Now there's a lot of angst around prompting, right? And it seems like, and we hit on this again in the first session, it seems like in a certain way, prompting has gotten easier as the AIs have gotten smarter. Is that correct?
It has. And it's, interestingly enough, the size of the prompt should actually get smaller, not bigger. As the model gets more intelligent, it needs less instruction.
That's interesting. Okay. And so instead of me creating the prompt, it seems like over the past few months, it's shifted to me telling the AI to create the prompt. Is that right?
Right. Because new models are coming out so frequently. Every month, there's a new model coming out. And every new model, there's a different best practices for prompting those models. And nobody's going to keep up with all of that, at least most people. But what you can do is you can outsource that to AI. You can tell the AI, I want you to research the best practices for prompting this model as of today's date. And then write a prompt for me based on the thing I'm trying to achieve. So then it takes those best practices, writes a prompt for you, and then you can make slight updates to it and then use it.
Okay. So step one, I've given it the context of my meetings and some content in terms of the emails and some criteria that I'm looking for it to be able to fulfill and to critique. So content, context, criteria. I'm then converting that or having the AI convert that into a system prompt. And then I take that and I bake it into a project. So we don't have the ChatGPT pulled up on the screen. We're not going to do that. But basically, just tell us what a project, again, reiterate, Dylan, what a project is, where someone finds it, how someone sets it up in very simple terms.
Yeah, so if you're inside of ChatGPT, on the left side in your menu, you're going to have a bunch of options on the left-hand side. Over there, you'll likely see a section called projects. If you wanted to create a new one, you would just click the plus button or whatever icon's there to create a new one. And as I mentioned earlier, a project, simply put, is a folder where you do recurring tasks. So when you open that folder and you interact with that AI, if you've added that system prompt that a previous AI wrote for you, it's going to look at that prompt before it does anything with you. And when it looks at that prompt, it's priming the AI to take on that task. So the AI is specializing in a very specific area before it interacts with the user. And for the use case we've talked about, it would be an AI that's specialized at writing follow-up emails for a given meeting type.
Yeah. Now, in those projects, is that something that lives on my desktop that ChatGPT accesses, or is that something that lives in the ChatGPT application on my web browser?
Yes.
Okay, both?
Both. So it can exist in the browser as a standalone project in the browser if you're using ChatGPT in the browser.
Yep.
But if you've downloaded a tool called Codex from OpenAI, which is a desktop agent, and it's basically ChatGPT on your computer, those can exist on your desktop as well. So those can be folders on your desktop. So it really just depends on the AI you're using and where you're using it. Okay,
so then not to get too nerdy here, but if I'm using Codex then, does that help me to automate the process a little bit more, or what does that enable me to do?
It's basically ChatGPT on steroids. So if you really want to automate a lot of stuff and do really valuable, difficult, complex work, as you get used to these tools and as you get better at using AI, you will quickly evolve to using these desktop agents like Codex from OpenAI or Claude Cowork from Anthropic, provider you're using.
Okay, but we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Going back to the premise at the beginning, you've got your bid, you've got your build, you've got your bill, and you're going to make a list of possible tasks that are repetitive, that the AI may be good at doing. You're going to pick maybe one from each area to begin with. And you're going to go through this process that we just described of creating a scenario for the AI to function under with the content and the context and the criteria, creating a system prompt based on that, and then creating a project and testing it out and seeing what kind of output you get as a result of that. We're going to keep it pretty simple here. Let me ask you this, Dylan. Assuming I've done all of that, where should I be looking to iterate, or where should I be looking to develop the quality of the output I'm getting from ChatGPT? What areas should I be thinking about as I'm thinking about getting better output from the engine?
First thing you want to do is anytime you create a project or a system prompt that you're testing, you want to test it. You want to test it multiple times on different inputs. So you don't just test it on the same transcript every time. You test it on 5 different transcripts and check those outputs and see how it performs. And each time that you test it, you want to find patterns in the way that the AI is making mistakes. So if the AI makes a similar mistake across all 5 transcripts where maybe it referenced the person that's accountable for a given task incorrectly, and you've seen that happen 5 times, you know that's an issue with the system prompt. So you want to immediately identify it, note it down, and then tell the AI, hey, I noticed that this issue happened. What do we need to change in the prompt to make sure this doesn't happen again?
Yeah, let me just stop you there. When you're getting bad output, don't assume that ChatGPT sucks.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like this. You know, when like this whole idea of operator error or user error, I know like using basic computer stuff, when I get a mistake from what I've put into my computer on a very basic level, I already know it's my fault. It's not the computer's fault. And so if you're getting garbage from ChatGPT, your first thought should be there needs to be an improvement in the prompt. It's not that the engine sucks and it can never do this task. Back up and ask it, how can I change the prompt, particularly if the mistake is being made again and again and again?
In addition to the prompt is the context.
Okay. Give us more on that.
This is actually a thing I had a conversation with a client recently is AI empathy. So your AI only has access to what you've given it. And if you can empathize with the AI and see through their lens, saying if somebody asked me to do this task and I only had access to these two files in this prompt, would I achieve it successfully?
Yeah.
If you can think through the AI's lens like that, then you'll quickly understand you may be missing context for the AI to achieve the task you've given it. And context could be additional files. It could be additional research it needs to do online or a variety of other things.
Yeah. That's interesting because the AI wants to help you or it's programmed to be helpful. It's been created to be helpful. And if it's not being helpful, you need to let it know because it's going to do everything in its power to help you as much as possible. So we don't want to go much further than this because I don't want to overwhelm you with information for information's sake. So take that meeting transcript idea and you've got this email that you're sending out to everyone involved in the project. Perhaps in that email, you have what needs to be done, when it needs to be done by, and who's accountable for it. You want to create that email based on the transcript. And you want to set it up as we've described in ChatGPT to do that on a consistent basis. And once you've set it up, be patient. The first, second, or third iteration of it may not be what you're looking for, but be patient and work with it because this is one of the ways that you're going to set yourself apart as an individual, but also as a company. It's going to be the people who know how to use the AI most effectively and learn how to use it as they use it that are going to set themselves apart from other companies as AI becomes more and more integrated into the way that companies operate. So with that being said, Dylan, based on the whole conversation we've had so far, what would you say is the one thing that someone listening to this should take away from our conversation?
Can I do two?
Yes, you may do two.
Perfect. So point one, start recording your meetings. If you can record all of your meetings, great. If there are certain meetings you can't record, that's fine, but it should be a small percentage. That's the first thing.
Yep.
The second thing is that when you get an output from an AI, that's where everything starts, not ends. So you should embrace the fact that you need to iterate with the AI and it's not going to be perfect on the first go.
Yes.
And if it's bad, it's likely your fault.
Yes. And then I'm going to add one more. You may come up with a bunch of different ideas for how to use AI in your organization. But one thing you can do with these transcripts is ask the AI, hey, listen, I'm using this transcript to get a meeting summary so I can set up accountabilities and email those out and track what people are doing and all those kinds of things. Give me 5 other ways I can use this transcript to help me run my business more effectively. And see what the AI comes up with. What do you think of that thought, Dylan?
That's a great one. I think you can always ask the AI for assistance in a variety of ways, one of which is, what else can I do with this?
Yeah. I think of that a lot in terms of, just think about that subcontractor that you're working with who has a pattern of behavior that perhaps you can't nail down exactly, but you have a suspicion about, a pattern of leaky communication or always sort of blaming other people for what's going on the job or something like that. And you want to be able to really identify that pattern, even document it perhaps. And you have a whole series of transcripts from these project meetings with issues coming up on a repetitive basis. You could take those transcripts and ask the AI to analyze them and give you some insights into how particular people in those meetings are acting over time. And that can help you to identify and then address issues both within your organization and outside of your organization as well. Okay, Dylan, how can people get hold of you?
YouTube. They can. You can find me on YouTube, and on YouTube I have it's Dylan Davis AI is the YouTube channel.
60,000 subscribers. That's what's called a legitimate YouTube channel.
Sure, something like that. Beneath the videos, if you really want to get in contact with me, I always link my LinkedIn, so you can find my LinkedIn and then reach me out there.
That's right. And Dylan and I, we partner up on the Construction Genius GPT course, where we run cohorts on an ongoing basis for construction companies. And whenever you listen to this podcast, if you're interested in getting involved in the Construction Genius GPT course, it's totally killer. It's totally focused on construction. I bring my construction expertise. Dylan brings the AI expertise. And together we provide tremendous value for our clients. So if you're interested in further pursuing that, you can either reach out to Dylan or you can reach out to me. And you know where to find me at constructiongenius.com. And there will also be links in the description to get in touch with Dylan or get in touch with me. All right. So ChatGPT 201, we've given you a simple way of using ChatGPT in your organization. On our next session, we'll take an even deeper dive into the dark and mysterious world of AI. And Dylan, thank you for joining me here today.
Thanks for having me, Eric.
All right. I hope you found that useful. Let's just have a quick summary here. ChatGPT 201 is not about becoming an AI geek and spending hours every day working with AI, though you might want to spend at least 30 to 60 minutes. It's about taking one task you already do every week and making it better. So start with your meetings. Record the meeting, get the transcript, drop it into ChatGPT, use it to create a clear summary, action items, open issues, and a follow-up email. Then improve the output that you're getting. If the output that you first get is weak, don't quit. That's where the work starts. Give the AI engine feedback, add more context, tighten the prompt, test it again. That's how you turn AI from a random tool into a repeatable workflow. And that's where the value is. Every construction company has meetings. Every project has follow-ups. Every team needs clarity on who's doing what by when. So here's your assignment. Pick that one reoccurring meeting this week, record it, get the transcript, use ChatGPT to create the follow-up, review it, improve it, send it. Start there. Don't try and change the whole company in 1 week. Build one useful workflow, then build the next one. And again, if you want to contact Dylan or myself, links are in the show notes, links are in the description, and feel free to reach out with any questions that you may have. And thanks again for listening. Oh, and by the way, if you're not subscribed either here on YouTube or on the podcast platform that you get your podcasts, please subscribe. Please give a review and a rating to the podcast. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks very much. Thank you for listening to this episode of Construction Genius. Hope you found that 1% of inspiration to help you in the next few days. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes, share it with other construction leaders who you think would benefit, and always remember that the show is brought to you by Kick-Ass Meetings. I've been working with construction leaders since 2004, teaching them how to run extremely effective problem-solving meetings that gets their people collaborating, taps into their creativity, and to get yourself a free copy of the Kick-Ass Meeting Report, go to www.ericanderton.com/kickassmeetings. Grab yourself that free report, read it, use it in your business. You'll find it extremely useful. And thanks again for listening.